More now on that breaking news in the United States, where the trade war between the world's two superpowers has escalated.
US President Donald Trump this morning raising tariffs on China again to 125% this time, while announcing a pause on all other nations. Let's go live to Nine's US correspondent, Lauren Tomasi, outside the White House. Lauren, there is a bit to get to. It's been a bit wacky, to say the least.
It has been such a wacky day. In fact, the last 12 hours specifically, there has been so much coming from the White House and from the US president as this tit-for-tat trade war, mainly with China there. It just keeps on escalating. But there are a few moments I wanted to tell you about that really stood out to me, and that began yesterday when Donald Trump was addressing a dinner last night, and he said it was time for the US to do the ripping because America had been ripped off for so long. He then went on to say that there were so many countries lining up to kiss his, and I'll let you fill in the blank there because this is breakfast television. And then we get to today, where Donald Trump is posting a flurry of social media saying it's a good time to buy, saying to play it cool, and then making this astounding announcement saying that he would be raising these levies against China to 125%, and also backflipping on his other policy, putting in place a pause for 90 days on these reciprocal tariffs. And while that's underway, it means all of those tariffs, many countries had some pretty big ones there, will come down to 10%. Unfortunately for us Aussies, we're already at 10%, so no changes there.
Look, the strange thing is, amongst the strangeness of the whole thing, is that just like an hour before that, members of his own administration were defending it all. It reminds me of, and then an hour later, bang, this massive backflip that we'll see huge gains on the markets today, and then the world flips again. It reminds me of that old Maxwell Smart movie, the old "we won't budge" big flex move, Lauren.
And then here we go. I feel like I've got whiplash because things are changing so quickly. And in fact, we saw Peter Navarro, who is Donald Trump's top trade advisor, come out here a little earlier, and he said that Donald Trump was the art of the reciprocal deal. Of course, Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. But I mean, you know, the world has been hanging on Donald Trump's word because he changes everything. If I can show you around the White House here, we're just by the West Wing. These are all foreign media. There's a big row of domestic media just after everyone here, but these are people from all around the world who are waiting to see how their countries are affected too. And if we spin around the other way, what's over here is the West Wing, and I can see that Donald Trump is now back inside the Oval Office because that Marine is stationed there at the door, so we know he's back inside, and I'm sure he is negotiating with someone because Donald Trump says more than 70 countries are now lining up to talk.
Or he's just having a Coca-Cola. I mean,
and a cheeseburger without meat in it. That is Donald Trump doing his thing in the Oval Office, because we do have breaking news for you this morning. I mean, Donald Trump confirming that 20-day pause on new tariffs, which is effective immediately, but it won't apply to China. Quite the opposite, the president revealing he will raise tariff rates on China to 125%, a quick-fire response to Beijing's 84%
Can we just have
all US
a little listen here? Because when he signs something, I get a bit nervous.
That we should really look at, because that's so important. The whole concept of an auto pen, because whoever's, you know, auto pens are run by somebody. Whoever ran the auto pen was president of the United States, and I would be willing to bet that Biden didn't know. Probably didn't know anything about
so it
any
could be
of
about
it.
anything. It's like looking through the square window. To discuss, let's bring in former White House advisor Tony Shaffer in Edenton, North Carolina. Tony, good morning to you. The reality is we don't know what he's going to do. This was a back down.
No, so he likes chaos, and it's very clear that he's creating chaos. The pause right now, I think, is hopeful by the fact that it's a window for those to actually figure out a way to negotiate. The China thing is not negotiable, and I'll be direct. The whole idea here, Carl, is that Trump wants to find a way to stimulate U.S. industry, everything from pharmaceuticals to steel. He feels, as many of us do who are military planners, that we, the United States, would have a really difficult time trying to go to war with a peer or near peer. And I think that's part of why he's working so hard on this. Remember, at the end of World War II, Carl, we had the surrender ceremony in Tokyo Bay. During that surrender ceremony, they had 900 B-29 bombers, this is August of '45, fly over as a show of force. That was based on the fact that we had an immense industrial capacity to build things. We just don't have that now. So this is a roundabout way of trying to stimulate U.S. industry.
All right, you described it as chaos. We've described it this morning as whiplash. I mean, there's certainly a theme of inconsistency here, right? Trump initially insisted there was no room for reneging on this tariff policy. Now he's saying he wants to negotiate with that pause. I mean, what's going on here? Was this pause always part of his plan?
So I always encourage people to read Art of the Deal. If you want to understand how Donald Trump functions, read his book. And he is very consistent in his inconsistencies as he lines up and talks about these things, Sarah. He actually does these things for purposes of creating the chaos that in his judgment, gives him negotiation leverage. So that's why you see this kind of going back and forth.
Well, Tony,
and it is creating conflict.
I would say this too. I would add this, that China's been running around all of a sudden to the table now to try and get other allies. Trump's also had big donors up his wazoo, for want of a better term, saying, what are you doing? That's why it's kind of flipped in the last 24 hours. Is it any more than that?
We've seen here public discussions, to be polite, between Peter Navarro, one of his senior trade advisors, and Elon Musk, one of his other big advisors. And Musk has said this is not healthy. So he is the biggest billionaire on the planet right now. So I think that's going to have an impact. The question becomes, when will it stop? And I don't have an answer for that. And I know at this point, the view is cautious optimism for most people here in the United States.
More now on that breaking news out of Washington, D.C. Donald Trump announcing a 90-day pause on tariffs while hiking China's to 125%. Joining us to discuss today's headlines is Nationals Senator Matt Canavan and 3AW9 News' Heidi Murphy. Good morning to you both. Okay, so Donald Trump waited until the tariffs went into effect midnight US time before backflipping and calling for a 90-day pause. Matt, what are you supposed to do with a president who says things like this?
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir.
So, Matt, is that the answer?
Well, what we've got to do, Sarah, is look after ourselves. I've said ever since Donald Trump got elected that everyone's having a meltdown about tariffs in a country that we only export 5% of our product to. We impose so many more self-imposed tariffs on our own economy through red tape, through new taxes, like the carbon taxes that Labor's putting on, a ute tax. Get rid of those things. That's what we should do and free up our own country. But all the other thing that's happening here, clearly, it's becoming apparent that that Donald Trump's strategy here is largely about trying to rein in the behaviour of China since they joined the WTO, which has been breaching their agreements for a long time. And that leaves us a little bit exposed because we are very exposed economically to China. And instead of diversifying our economy, the Anthony Albanese government has doubled down on that. They removed anti-dumping tariffs on wind turbines in a desperate attempt to get a deal with China. They've refused to take back the Darwin port, which we would if we were re-elected. And so we do need to adjust to this new reality that that world economy based around China might be ending, and we need to adjust.
And look, China is calling for that greater alliance with Australia, Matt, which I will come to in a second. But I guess, Heidi, I just want to get a sense first. Australia isn't really affected by this, right? Because we already had the 10% tariffs, which is now what every other country has been reduced to for 90 days. So for the everyday person out there, do you reckon they're feeling it?
Oh, I think they're feeling it in terms of what's been happening on the stock exchange, the wipeout to some people's superannuation savings. There'll be a lot of relief when the markets open and things stabilise a little, because I assume they will stabilise a little. They already have on some of the overseas markets. That will be very welcome. I think if that can calm down, that can steady the ship a little, people will breathe a sigh of relief. Whether it still means we're maybe in line for what are we up to now, 4 or 5 interest rate cuts this year? Let's see.
Well, the thing is, it's just about with Trump not retaliating, right, Matt? I mean, he's whacked China with that other hike, 125% now after they retaliated. Has he now put us, Australia, in an impossible position of having to partner up with China, a military foe in the region that has ships parked just off our waters?
Well, as I said earlier, I mean, it's been pretty clear ever since COVID, at least, that we should be reducing our exposure to China. They haven't ever lived up to their
But can you stomach
promises.
this notion, this request from China to join hands and become friendly?
Well, as I say, I'm not sure how that works when just a few years ago China issued us a list of 14 demands.
Yeah.
And then when we didn't accord to those demands, they banned our coal, they banned our barley, they
So it
banned
won't work,
our
is what
wine
you're saying.
But I guess who are we more worried about, Matt? Who are we more
what
worried
we've got to do
about,
is
Trump
take
or
care.
China?
What we've got to do is look after ourselves and look after our own country.
But
We
what does
have
that
so
look
many
like, though,
resources
Matt?
in this
You can't
nation.
just say that.
We should be investing in our own country and reducing our exposure to China. Clearly, we're way too exposed to China. More than half our exports go there. Everybody can see that for a long time, and this government's done nothing about reducing that exposure.
Okay.
But what's that going to do to business if we start to pull back all of that?
Well, what's it going
what's
to
that
do?
here?
But hang on, what's it going to do, Heidi, if we stay locked in? We've got to adjust. Now, yes, all adjustments take some degree of difficulty, but we've got to do
Look, I just want to move on because I do want to.
Well, it is a strange, ever-changing world in which we live, is it not? After stoking fears of a global recession, Donald Trump is backing down to a flat rate on tariffs with everyone except China. What's 10% between buddies? China digs in, saving face, returning serve overnight, slapping 84% tariffs on the US, and suddenly gets on the blower looking for allies. This morning, China's ambassador says Australia should join hands with Beijing to defend our economic growth. Has the world gone barking mad? For more, we're joined by Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles, live from Geelong. Deputy PM, good morning to you. Is Donald Trump a genius or a nutbag?
Well, he's the President of the United States, and we are working with him as the President of the United States, and we will just keep pushing Australia's interests. And we would prefer there's no tariffs between Australia and the United States, and we'll continue to make that case. But we're also going to build our own economic resilience and look for other markets, which is what we've been doing, and that's going to be our focus. None of it changes for Australia overnight. Nothing changes for us directly as a result of the backflip overnight. No. So and nor does our policy. I mean, what we announced a week or so ago when the announcement was first made was putting aside $50 million to help affected companies in Australia look for other markets elsewhere in the world, making sure we're having a resilience stream in the National Reconstruction Fund, having a Buy Australian program which puts Australian companies at the front of the queue in their procurement with the federal government. We'll keep doing all of that, and we'll keep making the case to the US that what's in the United States' interest is for there to be tariff-free trade between Australia and the United States. But whatever happens there, we will focus on building our trade with countries around the world. Someone needed to stand up to China. He's done that, at least. Well, I mean, firstly, we're not about to make common cause with China. That's not what's going to happen here. Oh, so you won't be holding their hand? We don't want to see it. I don't think we'll be holding China's hand. We don't want to see a trade war between America and China, to be clear. But our focus is on actually diversifying our trade. We're doing a lot more in Southeast Asia with countries like Indonesia, which is a massive potential market on our doorstep. We're about to sign a new trade agreement with India. We've done one with the UAE, which is the gateway to the Middle East. We've doubled our trade with the UK over the last 3 years. So we're really focused on how we can diversify our trade around the world. I think that's not only the lesson of this moment, that's been the lesson of the last 5 or 10 years. And sure, we stabilised our relationship with China, and that's important. But fundamentally, we're about building our trade around the world. I can't imagine the difficulties in holding hands with someone who's got battleships just off the shore. So you won't do a deal with China, or hold hands with them at least, but you will do a deal with the Greens. Do you have any standards, my man? Well, I don't know where you're getting that from. We will definitely not do a deal with the Greens. The Prime Minister has made that abundantly clear. No deals with the Greens, no ifs, no buts. We're focused on trying to win government in our own right, and that's our focus. We're seeking to be re-elected in the seats that we hold, and to win more seats to try and help build the government. Just for the record, that's going to be our focus. Just for the record, not under any circumstances
will you do a deal with the Greens to form government after the next election?
That is right. No deal with the Greens, no ifs, no buts. That has been made absolutely, I'm making it clear now, but that's been made abundantly clear by the Prime Minister himself. And you'll hear the Liberals try and smear that up, but it is very clear. No deals with the Greens, no ifs, no buts.
All right, good to talk to you. Thanks for your time again.